Ladies and gentlemen, today is May 11, 2017, and this is the KNKL Show, episode 338, part 2, where we learn to be better artists. This is, of course, yes, as I said, part 2. We're going to be continuing our speed painting of our portrait of our lovely elven lady. And if you're curious about part 1, we're doing everything real time, so in case you want to see my entire process, watching me make a ton of mistakes, you just go click up there, take you back to part 1, but we're continuing with part 2, so let's go ahead and get that stuff out of the way. And let's get started. Alrighty, people. So, part 1, we laid out our colors, we laid out our lines, and now we're getting ready to go into our overpainting. So, step 1, create a new layer and rename it OP, otherwise this entire process is not going to work. All of our old layers, right, we've set into this old folder because we're not going to be going back there. We are not regressing to our old selves. We are creating everything anew. So, the first step that we're going to be doing here is I want you guys to get to a point. You'll know when you're ready to start going to your overpainting stage, or, well, not necessarily, but here it works because you're able to squint your eyes. Now do this exercise with me. Squint your eyes and you can see the character within. You can see the values within, and it is a clear picture. We have a clear read on our character. And this is a good sign that you have a good setup. So let's go ahead and get into it. So the first thing that I want to do, I want to focus on the face today because that's probably the most important thing that we can do. So rather than zooming in and starting on like adding in eyelashes and stuff like that, we're not going to worry about that. We want to still think big picture. Big picture, ladies and gentlemen. So let's zoom out. Actually, that eyelash looks kind of nice there, but we'll leave it. Why not? Why not? That's our commitment. We'll keep that one eyelash. Let's go ahead and select our chalk brushes, and let's go ahead and start laying in some more overpaints. Things like extra details that we may have left out. Things that we want to change about our piece because, you know, it's okay to not be perfect. There's all kinds of things that you're going to want to change in your pieces. And let's begin painting new things in. This is things like, hey, I wanted to have like a little hair strand that came down like this. And look at this. All of the colors that we need are already on the piece. So we can just grab this and be like, okay, there's going to be a highlight there, highlight there. Oh, isn't that simple? Super easy. Love that. And this hair is going to come back like this. Let's start adding in a little bit more of our details of the hair. So it looks like it all kind of comes back to a point right here. I'm really trying to figure out the hairstyle that Megan had going on here. And it looks like it actually comes back to a bun. Maybe there's, could you have, I guess you could have that. There's like a bun up here and maybe it kind of braids to the back like this. Make it look a little bit more eloquent. I think I like that. Quite nice. Okay, and we're thinking big strokes here. Big strokes, people. So let's go ahead and do that. Just laying this in, trying to get our colors to harmonize with one another. And that's looking good. I did say in the beginning that I wanted to thicken up the neck ever so slightly. So let's go ahead and do that. That looks good. Looks really good. Me likey. Me likey. Okay, cool. This neck, actually, I feel like it's going too far back. Maybe I just needed to move the neck forward. Maybe not thicken it, but it just needed to be moved forward a little bit. I'm going to bring this collar up just a little bit. Again, taking some artistic liberties. Because we can do that. We can do that because we are the artist of the piece. And we get to, when we steal our characters, we make sure to add our own style to it. To help throw people off the scent of the stuff that we stole. So, it's kind of it's a bad way to put it, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Okay, now for the face, I wanted to make the nose a little bit more dainty. So let's go ahead and get in there and kind of change this up a little bit because I really liked the look of Megan's nose. So let's go ahead and go in there and make this a little bit more dainty, nice looking. Let's not forget about our eyelids because our character does in fact like to blink and not have their eyes turn into raisins. So let's go ahead and lay on a little bit of value underneath there. Good, good. I do like these luscious lips. I think that's what it is. That's what it is, Megan. It's the way you do your lips that makes everything look so nice. Oh, so nice. And that is definitely something that I'm going to steal from you. Absolutely something I'm going to steal from you. So let's go ahead and put those teeth in. We got something like that. And we got the lips. Very nice. The lips probably need to come a little bit further forward. And I'm going to show you guys a really cool trick for how to do that, because you might think, okay, well, we got to draw the lips all over again. But I'm here to tell you no. In fact, you should never do that. All you need to do is get your drawings to a place that you like, right? Or say draw the lips. Just draw the lips and get them to a point that you like. And then all you need to do is, here's something that I really like to do all the time. Hit Shift Control Alt E. That is going to stamp your entire image. Stamps your entire image. And then just go with your lasso tool, lasso those lips. Control C to copy. Can you guess what the next step is? Yes, that's right, Control V. Now you have the lips on their own layer, and we can move them to the proper location. i.e., this is digital plastic surgery. And I love this stuff. It's so much easier to do it this way. So I think the lips maybe need to come down, maybe a little bit more like that, and just kind of compare them back and forth. Compare back and forth. Now, because we move the lips forward, it looks a little bit strange to have the chin back like that. So let's go ahead and take the chin, do a little bit of plastic surgery here too. Let's change up the character's chin. Move those sliders on the character creator. Does that look okay? That's all right. It's all right. I think we could do better than that, but regardless, we're just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. We're trying to get a good feel for what we want our character to look like. So it's okay to make major changes. It's okay to make major changes at this stage. Let's go ahead and do that. Looks good. Let's have the shadow be there. Another thing that I really liked about the character here in the original sketch is just the flow of the eyes. The eyes tend to flow. It creates this really nice, I don't know, like arrow shape on the face, and I don't want to lose that because I feel like that's one of the hallmarks of the character. I want to make sure that that is present in the final piece. Okay, now we can add a little bit of eyelashes. Okay, I know you wanted to see that. Put a little bit of eyelash on there. There we go. Cool. Now this eye needs to open up a little bit more. I can already see that. So look at that. All I do to open the eye, did I actually like raise the eyelid and like change the, I mean, you can change the eyelashes a little bit, but no, you just need to show a little bit more white of the eye, and that automatically opens it. Opens it, makes it look nice. Makes it look really nice. I'm gonna lower the contrast on this area. That looks good. I like these little shapes here. I always draw those little blush lines on the nose area, but sometimes it ends up coming back and bite me in the butt, as it might here, but regardless, doesn't matter. I think we're looking pretty good. Okay, people, so we are looking quite nice. Let's go ahead and compare back and forth so you can see how we're beginning to add and change the character on the fly in the painting stage. Now, I want you guys to be okay with doing this, and I hope you're also noticing how much easier this is to do once you have your colors laid in, once you have your color palette sort of chosen. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a new OP layer because we want to start putting some additional changes here. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my soft brush for this because I want to make sure that we are showing the plane change of the cheekbone right here. Cheekbone. So that is going to create this type of effect going down towards the mouth. There's also going to be a little bit of light that gets caught on the chin here, maybe. Just a little bit right there. And let's go ahead and take this light and let's kind of spill it down a little bit more onto the rest of the face. Because we know the planes of the face. We know the planes of the face, and if you don't know the planes of the face, then I did a tutorial on that as well. It's actually quite old, but we go into planes of the face discussing ribbon, an old painting of ribbon that I did. So you can go ahead and click up here if you want to go see that, and go get edumacated. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Okay, guys, next tip I'm going to show you is that after a while of painting the face, you're going to get to a point where you're going to get lost. You're going to get really lost because after looking at a face for not very long, even just maybe 20 to 30 minutes, you're going to start seeing it differently than anybody else would, specifically people that are going to be seeing it for the first time. So I would urge you to go in there and I want you to flip your canvas. Now the way that you do this is you go to image rotation, and then flip canvas horizontal. that allows you to flip your canvas. And when you do this, you will, I need to let you know, you are going to be frightened because you're going to see all kinds of mistakes. All kinds of mistakes. And where's the first mistake that I see? These lips are way too high. Way too high. So let's go ahead and just grab those because they're actually on this old layer. Let's go ahead and grab those lips and let's just move them down. Grab those lips, move them down. She's got a little bit of a mustache now, but that's okay. We can shave that off. And there you go. See, that's already looking a lot more proportional. And I really want you guys to start thinking of yourselves as sculptors. You are actually sculpting at this stage the face. You're changing it. You're changing it with your colors. And I want you to also notice how each of these colors represents a different plane of the face. For example, do you see how as the planes, well, obviously, the planes that are facing towards the light source, like this one, the planes that are facing towards the light sources, right, they're all pointing upwards, up and to the left in this case. They're all the brightest points. See, right here, the forehead, also pointing up and to the left. And then as those planes curve around, look at the transitions. And then as we go to the bottom, we have this blue. This is basically how you're able to now sculpt, because you can literally bend your drawing based upon which colors you choose, okay? So that's what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit more of a change here. I'm gonna add a little bit more of a jawline here. I'm gonna push this out a little bit. And look, I'm actually like adding lines back into it as well. I don't want you guys to be afraid of adding lines back into your drawings. Also, I can see that this hairline is maybe just a tad bit high. Just a tad bit high. Let's bring it down a little bit more to be consistent with the original character here. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Also, now that I'm looking at it, I feel like the hair just in general is a little bit too big. It's a little bit too big. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to take this entire thing and we're going to give her a haircut. We're going to give her a haircut. So let's have this be a little bit tighter on the back. So the back of the head would be right there. Let's just go ahead and take our background color, just paint that in. Paint that stuff away. Paint that away. I actually like a little bit of this hair kind of sticking up, gave it a little bit more character. So let's kind of bring a little bit more of that back. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. I'm liking that. Now let's go ahead and I feel like the bottom part of this face is still giving me a little bit of trouble. Can't quite figure out why. Maybe I need to move the nose back a little bit more. Let's do a little bit more plastic surgery, huh, people? So, combine everything, grab it with your lasso tool, Control J, or you can Control C, Control V, or you can just Control J it. And then you can move this around as well. See? So let's go ahead and move this to a point where we feel is a little bit more pleasing to the eye. I'm liking that one right there. That's looking pretty good. Pretty good. All right. I'm happy this is turning out as well as it is because I always get pretty nervous whenever I'm going to be doing these live paints for you guys because obviously you guys know it's a little tough. It's tough to be able to do this stuff. It's tough putting yourself on the line where you might be making mistakes. In fact, most likely you will be making mistakes and big ones. Big mistakes. Ooh, I like that. But just like anything else, our subtleties come to our rescue. Subtleties come to our rescue. Did you notice how adding just a little bit of light on the tops of that lip now gives us more of that depth that we were seeking, more of that depth that we were looking for? And I'm going to go ahead and try to accomplish the same thing by adding a little bit of darkness underneath the eyes. Underneath the eyes, I'm going to grab this color right here that we used for the nose. I'm going to put this underneath the eyes like this. So that will give us a little bit more depth to the face. To the face. And I think it is. I think it is, ladies and gentlemen. Looking good. Looking real good. Light there that gets caught underneath the eyebrow, especially because this elven girl has quite high eyebrows. Let's go ahead and paint those in a little bit more like that. Hey, now we're starting to get an attractive face. An attractive proportional face. That makes me Oh, so happy. Look at that. Look at that. Oh man, I'm like a pro. I'm like a pro. I did that right in front of you. Right in front of you. You can no longer deny. I don't know. I might. Okay, so look, I might be getting ahead of myself. But look, see, look at all the changes that we made to the face. Now, here's another really important thing to do, guys, is that I want you to have your overpaints all in their own layer so that we can click them on and off. Because it's really important to go back to your original sketches and ask yourself, okay, does this girl look like Tweety Bird? Yes. But did it have more character? Sometimes your sketches will have a little bit more character or a feeling that you liked that sometimes gets a little bit lost once you start refining. So always a good idea to go back and check that out. Okay, now another thing that I can see here is that I kind of want to move, I want to try moving the nose and the mouth and this entire area up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this. Let's go ahead and hit Control H to hide our selection. I'm just going to use the arrow keys. Check this out. Just using the arrow keys allows us to move pixel by pixel our character's face. And let's see if we can get it to a point that we like. Because I feel like the nose could also be just slightly shorter. Because I did like, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm referring back to this. And even though she does look like Tweety Bird here, I did like a little bit more of the proportional or the slimming factor that went down the face. Like it has this very clear V shape that's going on. So I want to try to capture that again. So I'm taking the OP layer and see, so we went from that to that, that to that. And I kind of like that, kind of like that. Let's see, maybe right there is that nice happy medium. So I hope this also helps to show you guys that you shouldn't be ashamed of allowing the computer to do work for you. Because this was another thing that I used to struggle with. I used to feel bad if I couldn't paint things perfectly the first time, or if I had to rely on the liquefy tool, or using the lasso tool to reposition body parts. And of course, ideally, we'd all like to live in a world where you get things right the first time, or that you are able to paint things perfectly without the use of the computer. And you can get there. There's plenty of painters that, of course, they didn't have the luxury of Photoshop, so they had to get stuff right. But you know what? We live in an age where you can take advantage of it. And if you're not taking advantage of something that's just going to make your drawings look better and save time, most importantly, then it's honestly just going to be a negative. It's going to be a negative for you because you're going to get too caught up in your own pride. And while you're over there trying to get the painting right the first time, the other artist is going to be using every tool at their disposal, every tool to their advantage, and they are going to pull ahead. They're going to pull ahead. So don't be afraid and don't be ashamed of using all the tools at your disposal. Okay? That is such a better face. Oh, thank heaven. Thank heaven. Okay, now for this elf, I don't know if elves, I'm not a D&D player. I don't know if elves have more like cat eyes, but I'm going to try that out, see if we like it. And if I do, then we're going forward with it. Yeah, in fact, while we're on the subject of eyes, let's go ahead and get in there because, oh yeah, that's looking so good. I like that. Zoom out every once in a while and kind of just take a look at everything. And turn off your layers, see how far you come. You might be surprised. Might be surprised. So let's go ahead and get into some eyes because I know a few of you out there have been asking about eyes and how to make them look more believable. So here's the basic principle of how I like to make my eyes look attractive, yet realistic. Okay, so similarly to how we talked about, do you remember this shadow that gets cast? This shadow right here, do you see how there's that darker area? It's very prominent on anime as well. Even anime doesn't forego this because it's a very important thing to making the eye look realistic. Okay, so you have the lit part right here, and then you have the shadow part. Similar thing is going to happen in the iris. Okay, you're going to have something like this. You're going to have a darker part that kind of comes down like this. And then you're going to have the light part, which is coincidentally going to be on the opposite side of the, I don't know if that's coincidental, but it's always on the opposite side of your light source. So the light source, as we discussed, is coming from the top right. It's really hard to say that while I'm literally pointing, because I have to point the opposite way on the camera. It's coming from the top right, so the bottom left is where the light is going to gather on the eye. Now, depending on how detailed you want to get with this, you can kind of like add in these little kind of highlights like this. That's really nice and everything. And there will be like little areas if you really want to get detailed, you know, like showing like the muscle and showing all the little fibers that connect to the eye. You can do stuff like that. I try to stay away from getting too detailed, but for the heck of it, I'll just get right into it. Or I'll just kind of render this eye out a little bit more for you. So you might end up with something like that. Okay? Now, another really important hallmark of an eye to make it look realistic that a lot of people forget is that you want to make sure that you don't forget about, well, the eyelids. And the bottom eyelid we already kind of took care of because I'm actually going to have these eyelashes be a little bit gray on the edges. That'll look nice. Yeah, look at that. That looks great. But we discussed this important piece down here. See this eyelid, that little shadow that happens right there? That shows one part of the bottom of the eyelid, but there's also another part that many people forget about, including myself. And that is the depth of the bottom eyelid. That is what happens right here. And you can show it most easily by creating a dark, like a dark shadow version of the skin, okay? So that exists right there and allows your character to blink, and it shows the depth of the eye. And also, right, there's a little bit of light that will get caught right there as well. So something like that. See, now you're on your way to making a more realistic eye. Isn't that nice? Isn't that grand? Love it. Okay, and then you can go in there and add all your little eyelashes. Looking good. Looking fine. Looking oh so fine. And then most importantly, you want to get in there with your, now here's where you can go really crazy. Take your light color, which in this case we've already discussed is a warm color. And I usually like to set this on a new layer because it's nice to be able to go back in there in case you need to make additional adjustments. And just go ahead and lay on your highlight. Lay on your highlight. Like that. And the highlight can actually exist a little bit into the shadowed area. Just ever so slightly. And it'll give you a cool look like that. Give you a really nice look. We like that. And then zoom on out, and there you go. Look at that. We have a nice shiny eyeball. Doesn't that look great? Actually, that shine looks a little bit off too. Here's another reason why it's good to put it on its own layer, because you can move it around. Move it around to a point where you think it looks good. Zoom out, take a look at the piece as a whole. That looks good. All right, let's go ahead and quickly lay some of those details that we put onto this eye onto the other one so it doesn't look out of place. Let's go ahead and lay in that brightness there. Let's lay in that darkness there, a little bit of those muscles. Because your iris is in fact a muscle. If you didn't know that, that's why it contracts and expands to let little or more light out. And that's what those little lines are. Those are showing the muscle of the iris. Similar to how you would show the strands of a muscle in an anatomy book, or if you're drawing muscles yourself. Okay, so there we go. And you can go ahead and lay on that shine. Get that shine on. It's good. Alrighty, people. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. Let's go ahead and create a new OP layer. And let's go ahead and start doing a little bit more broad strokes because I want to make sure you guys get the best bang for your buck today. And I want to make sure I'm getting as many little tutorials in there as possible, showing you my process. So also another thing, speaking of mini tutorial, don't forget about the plane changes in the eye. So similar to how the bottom eyelid kind of curves away from our light source in this instance, the top eyelid is actually going to curve upwards toward our light source. So we're going to get a little bit of this effect going on. So see how we have the upper eyelid facing toward the light. It actually grabs a little bit of that. It actually picks up a little bit of that light. And the bottom, right here on the brow line, it begins to face again away from the light. Away from the light. And you could even get in there and add a little bit of this stuff. You could add a little bit of your blue. Grab some of this blue because a little bit of that blue light is going to be affecting the bottom of the brow line. Ever so slightly. You don't want to put too much. Just a little bit goes a long way, as we have discussed. Yes, actually I think that was a little too much. I'm putting my foot in my mouth here, but that's okay. That's looking good. Looking good. Let's put some detail on the eyebrows, ladies and gentlemen. Eyebrows. Let's see. I want to make sure that we're getting these eyebrows correct. Okay, it looks like they kind of raise up. They got a little bit of this shape going on. And they go up and over. Up and over like that. That is good. That is good. Okay. Now, an important thing for the eyebrows, people. Important thing for the eyebrows. Notice how I'm not saying, okay, the eyebrow starts here, right? And it's kind of like, you know, by that eye. So the other eyebrow, maybe it should be kind of like right here, right? And then it kind of goes up and over. That doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look terrible. However, the depth is off. If this character was to turn towards you, do you realize how that eyebrow is actually in line with the middle of her nose? And that's wrong. We want to show our depth. So that's why the eyebrow is actually pushed to the side. It looks as if it's being pushed over to the side of the face. That's to help illustrate the depth of the face. So don't forget that one either. Don't forget that one either, people. And speaking of things not to forget, don't forget about your cast shadows. Cast shadows. There's going to be a cast shadow that's coming from this hair. It's probably going to look something like this. Again, I'm just kind of going around. Do you notice how I'm going around and like eye dropping? I'm picking colors rather than going here and trying to figure out the exact color to use. I say, okay, well, let me find a relationship that already works on this piece, and I'm just going to grab that color and add it to the rest of it. There'll be plenty of time for adjusting minor things at the end of the piece, but for now, you're just trying to get relationships that work. Take things that work on your piece already and use them. Okay, speaking of that, let's go ahead and grab a little bit of this stuff. We want to put a little bit of this hair in there as well. It's looking good. Ooh, yeah. Like that. See how I just like add that strand of hair in there and I'm like, I like it. Let's roll with it. This is the kind of stuff that you want to be doing at this stage of the piece. Again, we're not worrying too much about refining. I did go into a lot of detail on the eyes, but I would urge you not to go there just yet because you're still trying to figure a lot of things out. You might be going in and changing a few things. So don't get too hung up on that just yet. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the lines here just a little bit. However, I do like that blush. I like that color's there. However, I don't like how it's kind of being represented, I guess you could say. It's not being represented properly. Something like that. That looks good. Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Okay, so let me think about the next big things that I want to do. Because I know that I'm going to be using the face as the thumbnail, so I want to make sure that looks really good before I go into anything else. Another thing that I really like to do is I like to create a new layer, and I like to ask myself, because every now and then you'll run into something like this. In fact, I'm reading your mind and predicting the future of what's going to happen when you try this. Is you're going to go in there and you're going to begin painting, and then you're going to run into this issue where you're like, okay, well, maybe there's like, you know, like a cast shadow right here. And then there's like the hair, and then you're like, oh no, the hair and the cast shadow of the skin are the same value. Like they're blending together. How do I separate those? Well, it's also very important to go in there, and you're gonna have to be solving a lot of problems, and that has to do with this type of stuff. When your values start to come together. And this is the point where you need to say, which is going to be the darker value? Is it going to be, because there's a line that needs to exist here, right? There's a line that needs to exist there. So I always ask myself, which is going to be the darker value? Is it going to be the skin or is it going to be the hair? And in this case, I think the skin makes more sense. But let's say that you don't want to, like you want this clarity, but you don't want all the shadows to be this dark. Here's how you fix that. Here's how you fix that. You're going to blend it. You're going to blend these lines like this. You're going to blend it by taking a color that's sort of in the middle. I think that needs to be a little bit more purple-ish. And you're going to blend those lines. So see, now you have a darker cast shadow color that looks okay. It looks okay with the piece. And then you simultaneously have a brighter... Oh, you can also do this. You can also lighten the value on the other side. Lighten the value of the hair on the other side. And then what you will end up with is something that looks much nicer. So see how there's now that separation. There's that proper separation that's happening there. So whenever you run into that issue, that's always the first thing that comes to my mind is which is going to be the lighter value. Can I lighten something up? Can I darken something? Or can I do a little bit of both to help clarify this piece? Okay, so I'm going to do this. This is looking great. I'm really enjoying this. Really enjoying how this piece is coming out. And I hope you guys are learning some good stuff today. You guys are learning some good stuff. I know you guys say the nicest things. I really do appreciate all the compliments. But honestly, nothing is a greater fulfilling feeling than knowing that I'm giving you guys that feeling of like, I get it, or that's really nice to see this done real time because now I get what I was doing wrong, or explaining a principle that maybe was so confusing to you before and laying it out in a simpler way. You know, because I really believe that a lot of principles, they can be broken down into much simpler steps. And I think they should. I think oftentimes we're trying to grasp too many complicated things that we just don't get. And most of the time we don't get it, not because it's complicated on its own, but because we're trying to digest too much at a time. Right? Think of it as you're going to like a steak dinner and you try to cram the entire plate in your mouth at the same time. No, you wouldn't do that. You cut it into small chunks. Cut things into small chunks, digest it easier. So that's what I try to do on the show. Nothing gives me more satisfaction than knowing that I did that for you guys at home. So thank you guys. Really appreciate that. All right. Looking good. Looking good. There are a couple more things that I want to do here. Okay, most importantly, we got to make sure that we color in those boobs because that is the other most important thing on this piece. And in my harsh opinion, I don't think we're showing enough because on this piece, we got a little bit more. Got a little bit more to work with, and we got to make sure that we make those adjustments, make those proper adjustments. So let's go ahead in there and let's go ahead and paint in the chest. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and raise this. I'm going to raise this collar up just a little bit so that we can see a little bit more of the anatomy going on there, which is oh so important. Maybe something a little bit more like that. Ooh, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. That looks good, and then we can get a little bit more light on there as well. I'm going to use the soft brush here. Use the soft brush to go in and kind of clean that up a little bit. Actually, I just realized that because this boob is facing more away from us, we can actually show more of it because of perspective. Yet another thing that took me a long time to figure out how perspective works on the chest of a lovely lady. But luckily, I'm here to show you how to do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in a little bit of transitionary colors too, right? Because we know that makes everything look so nice. Nice and alive. Let's go ahead and shade this in. Shade that in. Let's see, how is that actually going to work? Let me go ahead and flip this. When in doubt, flip it around. Flip it around, look at it from a different angle. Because ideally what we're trying to get here is an effect like that. Exactly like that. Where you have, and this is what I like. This is what I like because too many people, myself included, when I first learned to draw boobs, I was doing this. I was having like a harsh line right here. There was always that dark line. And then let's say that, you know, just for the sake of this, let's go ahead and paint the rest of this out, right? I would do this and then I would do this, right? Like this is how I drew boobs. But this is there's too much contrast there. There's not always that crazy line, that high contrast line that happens there. Rather, what happens is you want to be subtle with it. Subtle yet sexy. And the way you achieve subtle yet sexy is you have a line, right, that bends. There is a value change that's moving towards the edge of the chest. But then, most importantly, it's not a dark line. It's not a dark line. So you want to have something like this. Sort of like that. I'm going to grab another color up here that works better. Yes, like that. Okay, so now do you see how that line exists there? But it's oh so subtle. Oh so subtle. And you can go in there and kind of clean this up. You can have it be a hard edge, but notice that it's not a black line. See how it's not a black line? Don't do that. Don't do that ever. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'm going to have to come find you and educate you. Okay, so let's not forget about our cast shadow as well. I actually really liked our cast shadow color that we used up here. So again, referencing other parts of the picture to go into other areas. referencing other parts of the picture. There we go. And this part is going to be very bright. Let's go ahead and add some super bright parts to the boobs there and there. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Looking good. Looking quite good. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, and then we can go in there and add a little bit of detail, right? We want a little bit of detail on that. Let's see here. This is actually like a flat piece, it looks like. This is a flat piece. So let's go ahead and not lose that. Put a little bit of stitching on here, a little bit more ornate styling onto the armor, which will look oh so nice. And cool, ladies and gentlemen, we are looking quite good. Quite good. And I think we're going to be ending today's show pretty soon, but we do need to cast some question catapults. So I'm thinking what I'll do is I will answer those questions. I'll answer some questions because I want to get this as nice looking as possible before I send you on your way. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and cast some question catapults. And we got some good ones coming. Good ones coming in today. So, let's go ahead and get it started. Digital art. First one coming in from Joe Seraph. Digital art advice. And they are asking, how do I get used to drawing on a digital tablet? Like traditional, there's a disconnect between where you're drawing and where you're looking. Drawing on it doesn't have the same textured feel. Most of these make my art look worse than on paper. Great question, Joe Seraph. I'll be happy to answer that as we go back to this. Okay, so just in general. Okay, I agree. The principle of drawing literally where you're not looking. Like, have you ever tried to draw with your eyes closed and then you look at the paper and you know what happens when you do that? I felt like that was the same principle that was happening here. But in actuality, think of it as more like you're playing a game. Like, for those of you who play, I don't know, Overwatch or For Honor, those are some of my favorite games right now. Do you remember when you first started playing it, you were terrible at it? You had to develop the coordination of the tools that were at your disposal and, just get a feel for how the game would be working. And the same rule applies to a Wacom tablet. Just because you're already skilled at drawing doesn't mean that's going to translate, because you're learning to use a new tool. You're learning a new game. So don't be disheartened by the fact that you're probably going to suck really bad at the beginning, okay? And the best way that I know this is the most obvious answer. It's experience, but also I think more than that, there just comes a point where you will draw differently. You'll draw differently on a tablet than you do on pen and paper. And my best advice is this, or my best example of that is this. Say I'm drawing a face. Normally on pen and paper, I tend to make larger lines. Yeah, if I try to do that on the tablet, do you see how it's really easy to kind of get these weird unless you do like sweeping strokes, but even that is a technique that I have learned to do on the Wacom tablet. But if I try to draw really slowly, do you see how you just kind of get this really boring kind of look? There's no weight to the lines. There's no flow to the lines, and it's going to look kind of crappy. So I have developed a technique which is called train tracking. So I kind of do stuff like this. I'm sketching like this. I mean, you saw this at the very beginning of the episode, where I'll just draw I'm trying to let flow kind of overtake everything else. And I do stuff like this, which is not how I draw in the sketchbook at all. So it's just a different technique. And this doesn't look much better, but you get what I'm saying. So just doing that will help you to kind of get a feel for what you're doing, Joe Seraph. Next question coming in. Heyo, my name is Zalis. Or, my name is Steve. But your real name is Zalis. I got you. Question is, after you finish sketching, at the detailing phase, it looks empty and ugly without the sketch layer. Okay, this is something that we went into last week, actually. And that is because the reason why when you start overlaying line work or creating new lines over your sketch, it's just naturally going to lose its action. It's going to lose the action, and it's going to lose things that you liked about it because you're effectively taking away. You're effectively taking away something that may have worked before. A good example of this is the metal slug piece that we're working on. And I talked to you guys about this last week, how you want to always be comparing back to your original sketch. And not necessarily, obviously, you're trying to clean up the lines, but you want to make sure that you're capturing the same feeling. You're capturing the same feeling that you had in your original sketch. So that is just a natural thing that's going to happen. Don't be afraid of it. But the key is learning to understand feeling and learning how to capture that feeling in your drawings. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more shadow there. It's looking good. There's another thing that I want to do here, and this is going to wrap it all up. We're going to learn about the final phase that I like to do in my drawings, and this is blending and smoothing everything out. So let's just make a new layer. We'll call this smooth layer. And this is the point where I begin to go, because you want to think about it this way. Your edges should always be sharp, okay? You want sharp edges on the edge of the face, chin, everything that is within that bounding box of an object. The edges of your hair should be sharp, that type of stuff. But on the insides, more often than not, I find it very pleasing if you take a soft brush and you begin to go in there and you begin to blend it so it's buttery smooth. Buttery smooth. And the way you do that is by selecting color and beginning to blend it. Blend, blend, blend. And oftentimes I'll use like a huge brush. Use a huge brush and see, like this. See, you're blending from that to that, that to that. And you're going to change the geometry of the face ever so slightly. But in all, you're trying to go for that smooth look. Smooth, smooth look. And that is going to take us to our next question. And I will continue smoothing as we do that. Next question coming in. Okay, great question coming in from Ozan Pulat. They're asking about college. They feel like even though it is free in their country, which is really awesome, they feel like they're not learning enough. They feel like they're not learning enough just by going to class, and they feel like it's a waste of time. And I first of all would like to ask yourself, or I would like you to ask yourself, why do you feel like it's a waste of time? Do you feel like you're ahead of your instructor? Do you feel like your skills already surpass that of your peers? And don't be afraid to admit that. I know that sounds a little bit cocky, but you want to make sure that, you know, one of the best ways to improve is make sure that you're around people that are your skill level. And there's nothing wrong with being an amateur artist. Nothing wrong with being on your journey, as I like to call it. You know, but it just goes for the same thing in life. Or the saying in life is, you know, those who you hang out with, you're just going to become more alike. So why not use that to your advantage? Get around people, whether it's in school or whether it's people that you meet on a forum, people on the internet, people that you watch online. Get around people that you know that you can learn from. And not saying that I have everything, right? There's tons of awesome artists on here that are teaching their techniques for free on YouTube, and you should be taking advantage of all of them, not just me. And there's plenty of YouTubers that are way better than me. So you should also be taking advantage of that stuff too. So yeah, do that. Do that, Ozan Pulat. And you'll have yourself a good time. Oh man, this is looking good. Looking real good. Also, last word of advice. When in doubt, to make your girls look cute, we did it at the beginning, but add a little bit of blush in there. Add a bit of blush to add life back into your drawing. Because just in general, you're going to lose life as you begin adding additional colors and just doing overpainting in general. You're going to lose that just by proxy. So going back in there and adding it back in will be a great help to you. Oh, love that. Love that. And yes, you should be. You should be this excited about your art when you're doing it in a proper way. And I hope that this technique that I've shown you today will get you just as excited as I am. Just as excited as I am. Boom. That looks good. Boom, that looks good. A little bit more shine on the nose. Shine on the nose. And look at that. You can make your character look nice and shiny by adding just a little bit, just a tad bit of that to the drawing. Okay? Look at that radiance. Look at the radiance of the skin. Looks great. And I personally love setting it up this way because now you can look back at all the steps. This is where you want to look back on all the steps and all of the things that you've done to get to this point. And you realize, hey, this wasn't actually as hard as I thought it was going to be, because we set up all of our, in fact, I feel like I could kind of change this a little bit. I need to change this reflected light. I want to push it a little bit more towards purple, because the blue is not completely resonating with me. I feel like it needs to be warmer. So let's go ahead and take this reflected light and let's push it towards purple. But at this point, you should be able to look back on your piece and say, hey, you know what? We did a pretty good job here. We did a pretty good job, and it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Because we took the time to break up our steak, our giant steak dinner, into small bites. And by doing so, we were able to easily digest. Here's another last final tip. Let's say that you want to blend this, but see how it's like affecting the entire piece. This is probably the most important thing in the entire tutorial right here. Blend it, right? Get that blend that you want right there. And then, because it's on its own layer, you can go in and erase it away from the places that you don't want it to affect. See that? Now you have that blending that's happening right there. Look, you can erase it from the edges too. Boom. I'm always doing this. Always, always, always doing this at the end of my paintings. Just create a new layer, make the blend that you want, and then erase it away. Erase it away from the places that you don't want it. Super easy. Super easy to grasp, I hope. I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to end it, people. I think today was a very successful day on the show. Oh, that's too much. Little much there, okay? Got it. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I just realized I forgot to put the other eyelid on here. That's why that looks a little bit strange. Let's not forget about the other eyelid. Lovely. A little bit of light's gonna get caught right there and right there. Lovely. Isn't that awesome, people? Ha! I did it! I did. Yes, thank you. Thank the Photoshop gods. We were able to create something attractive and good looking for the show live. Oh man, I'm so happy. So happy. Few things make an artist feel better than being able to do this stuff live. Look at that. I should quit while I'm ahead. But I should know better, but I'm getting excited now, so. Ooh, I want to put a little bit more saturation on the lips. A little bit more saturation on those lips. Oh, lovely. Okay, and I'm just coming up with, like, as I'm doing this, I'm thinking of all these other things that I could teach you. But I don't know if I should hold off. I don't know. Maybe. Nah, let's just do it. Whatever. I don't care if this show goes long anyways. You guys are awesome, and it seems like you guys really appreciate the longer shows. So whatever. Let's just get into it. On lips, another thing that I find that makes them look really luscious is not only putting this highlight right here on the bottom lip, but also there's a little bit of light that gets caught right here on the edge of the lip as well. Now you don't want to go crazy with it and do it like this, right? But ever so slightly lighten your values on the edge of the lip. And you will get something that looks fantastic. Fantastic. Love it. Okay, now I'm also going to go in here and put a little bit of darker value on the teeth, because this is another thing that you need to remember. The teeth don't sit right on the edge of that lip. There's a little bit of space there, so show it. Show that space of the teeth and the lip. Okay, I like to keep the teeth just as one simple color, you know, or even just add in a little bit of that. See, that looks like another tooth just by adding that slightly darker value right there. Awesome, yet it still looks nice. Let's go ahead and add in a slightly darker value right here. And let's go ahead and blend this with our soft brush. Should be taking another question right about now, so I will do that. Oh, that looks so great. Love it when a piece comes together. Okay, next question coming in. Final question of the day. What do we have here? Okay, I'm sort of new to digital art. Oh, I remember why I took this one. Okay, this is kind of a similar question. Working on a tablet seems uncomfortable. Do you have any advice for becoming better at the tablet? Same thing I would say to you, Solidites. Get used to knowing that it's going to take experience, but also learn you're going to have to develop your own technique, a new technique to work on the tablet to develop your hand-eye coordination. All right, final question. Let's see here. I will take... Oh, perfect question. Perfect question. Coming in from Viral Air. Working towards becoming a pro illustrator. Last 6 years, I used Wacom Intuos. But now I have enough money to afford a Cintiq. That is a great time to be in. Yay! Hooray for Viral Air. But the problem is, they're like, wait a minute. I just spent all this money, but I feel like maybe I didn't have to spend that because he watches people like me working on a tablet, and I actually prefer it. But maybe not for the reasons that you might imagine. I've said it before, but I'll reiterate on it again. The reasons why I believe the strength of the Cintiq, in fact, this goes to people talking about having trouble making that switch from a sketchbook or drawing with physical media over to a tablet, is that you have to develop a new skill set. And working on a Cintiq is going to be so much easier. In case those of you don't know what a Cintiq is, it's a tablet. Basically, it's this, but the screen is now on this. So I'm literally drawing right on the screen to create my pieces. And it is awesome, and it's super convenient, super handy, and I really did love working on it when I was working at Riot Games, in-house. I loved working with it. But the problem is that my posture suffered because of it. My posture suffered because with the tablet, I'm able to have it down on the desk, and I'm able to look straight ahead at my computer screen. Yet when I have a Cintiq, it's positioned so it's kind of sitting up on your table like this, and you have to lean forward ever so slightly. And after doing this for hours and hours a day over many months, eventually you start to develop a little bit of neck strain. It starts to hurt quite a bit. So I eventually went back to the tablet just for reasons of posture, and for some reason I actually like it. I like the feeling of kind of being able to draw in a different area and have it translated to the screen. I've gotten good at the game, as they say, and I like it. So it's just a matter of comfortability and experience. Alrighty, people. So with that, I think we're gonna end this pretty soon here. Oh, there's one more thing that I want to add, and that is I realize what this is. I can't believe it took me this long to figure out. I want to have a little curly key right here. She's got this beautiful curly hair that comes down. I want to make sure that we highlight that and show that. So let's go ahead and add that in. Let's put a little bit of light there. Look at that, just grabbing colors that are already on the piece and making it look good. Making it look good. I'm gonna take this blue, I'm gonna add it to a couple other areas. Let's have that there. If you want your character to feel more like it's a part of the piece, grab your reflected color or your ambient color and start adding it to the shadows. Start adding it to the shadows and notice how your piece all of a sudden begins to feel more natural. Good. Let's add in a little bit of details in here. Just kind of go crazy with this. There you go, look at that. And I'm just literally just drawing this, making this up on the fly. And I'm just doing it by creating texture. Creating texture, ladies and gentlemen. Looking good. And with that, I think we're gonna end it, people. That is a sufficient speed painting. We did this in feels like about 2 hours. So I hope this helps you guys out with your drawing skills, with your coming up with color palettes specifically, laying things out, allowing yourself to be loosey-goosey in the beginning, and understanding that there's going to be a lot of hurdles that you are going to have to face, obviously, but hopefully this helps to alleviate a little bit of that. Takes away a little bit more of those questions, those strange questions that pop up of like, oh, I don't know if I'm using the right colors. I don't know if the lines are looking right. You know, cut that steak up, right? Go to the steak dinner, or if you're a vegetarian, cut that. Just say that. Okay, sorry, children that are in the room. In fact, maybe you didn't even hear what I said, but I'm so naughty. Cut that steak up into smaller bits. Cut that falafel up into smaller bits. And you're going to have yourselves a good time with that. All right, people. I think we've had enough fun for the day. Let's go ahead and end today's show. Boom. Boom. Yes. Love it. All right, people, so thank you so much for joining me on YouTube. Thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. My name is Kienan Lafferty. I will see you guys next week, and I bet you just thought that I was about to do the outro without doing the lovely lane. Haha! No, I am not. In fact, I did not forget. I'm going to do the lovely lane right now. So, and that is going to be our new outro. So tell me how you guys feel about this. New outro is the lovely lane. I'll see you guys next week, and until then, you guys take care. Oh yeah, go to Facebook, click see all to see the lovely lane, and let's go ahead and scroll this. Oh man, there's a lot more of these than I thought there was going to be. All right, maybe you guys speed it up just a little bit. These are so awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your submissions. Again, go check them all out. Like the page, submit your art, and you could be featured on next week's show. All right, that catches us up. See you later, people. Take care.